Hi there, this is Ronnie. I want to talk about something that is quite common in the way that a lot of raw vegans look at the world, which is a lot of raw vegan people are very open and interested to conspiracy theories and conspiracy theory thinking. And I think if you're to be open to trying a different diet, you maybe have to be open in general to all sorts of different alternative ideas. And a lot of people actually come to the raw food lifestyle because of illness and they go down the conventional path, and all their life maybe they've pretty much went down the conventional path, and they assume, like many people do, that the information from the government, from the big institutions and things like that can be trusted and is real and is very researched, and things in the media are very well researched. And if a book gets published by a big publishing company, that means that that's a great author, and everything is checked and everything is properly, you know, figured out, and it's all experts and all that stuff. So you're going down the world with that idea in mind, and then you get really sick, and then you go to the doctor, you go to different people looking for advice, and maybe you find that the advice is not to your liking and it's not exactly what you wanted to hear. And you might even take the advice for a while and try it, and it's not making a difference. And you start to lose trust in the major institutions that are meant to support us in our lives. You start to lose trust. You start to question, and you go to another source. You go to an alternative health practitioner, or maybe a chiropractor or a herbalist, or you try something else out, or you ask friends or you ask around. And eventually you maybe start making changes to your diet. And it might be that you change your diet, you go to a raw food diet, and all of a sudden your illnesses and problems just completely reverse and disappear. And it was nothing more than changing your diet. And you find that the major institutions, the supposed experts, the supposed science, is sometimes far behind, or it's not getting out there, or the doctors aren't trained properly. And you realize that you can't actually trust these major institutions. And that's hard, a sad thing to say. And maybe you can trust them 85% or 75% or whatever, but you can't 100% trust that they've got everything right and they've got everything in a line. And that's the right way to look at all of life, really, is you can't really trust that anything is completely solid and right and the best thing. And I mean, you, there's different, like, you don't want to get totally paranoid about this, but you can't 100% always think that everything is as it seems to be or whatever. So that process in itself can lead a raw foodist or raw vegan or someone on a healthier lifestyle to become cynical and skeptical about many of the major ideas and stories that are put out there in the major institutions, the governments, the healthcare systems, obviously the big corporations, the big industries, the universities, the big media companies, and all that stuff. And at that point, they become a ripe prospect, a ripe target for conspiracy theorists to sort of bring them in to their world, their world view. And when I've done raw food gatherings, not so much the festivals, but definitely when I did sort of free meetups, which I've not done for a while, a lot of the time it would descend into conspiracy theory conversations. And that sort of annoyed me because I've always looked at it. Well, I'll probably get back to that, but it would descend into these conspiracy theories, and it made me realize this makes sense. They're people that question the standard diet, and they question the standard lifestyle in all ways. So it totally makes sense. But I personally get very tired very quickly when people start going on about conspiracy theories, especially the ones about evil people running the world and all this covert evil stuff that's just about to happen. So a friend got in touch and said, "What are you going to do about the food shortages? There's planned food shortages. What are you going to do about them as a fruitarian?" If there was a genuine food shortage, my concern wouldn't be, can I be 100% raw vegan? There's, that's maybe going to be challenged at that point. My concern would be, am I going to be recruited into some kind of war? Because food shortages would lead to huge problems around the world. Many people would die immediately. Like, well, not immediately, but very quickly. People would die, countries would collapse, there would be wars. The implications of things like that are huge. And where did the person get this information from? I don't know, but I'm guessing a conspiracy theory source. Now, we seem to have a tendency towards conspiracy thinking, at least some people do. And it's very convenient and easy. It also is a nice thing to think, well, it's almost like this, yeah, the reason that this hasn't worked out for me, or my life isn't going the way it should, or the reason they're doing better than me, and turn it into a big conspiracy. They're part of the elite and I'm not, and therefore I can't. It's like a convenient way of like taking away blame for yourself or responsibility from yourself. Like, your life is your responsibility. There's this entire system in place that pretty much allows you to do what you want if you live in a country like in Europe, in America. Yeah, there's laws and stuff, but you can pretty much do with, as long as you're not intentionally trying to harm people, you can do a tremendous amount of things and try many different things out. And there's many courses, different education routes to go down, different careers to try, multitudes of people to meet and befriend and attempt to have relationships with. There's so much opportunity, endless entertainment opportunities. Every piece of music in the world you can get access to very quickly. Internet with all the information in the world. And yet people would rather see all this world as negative, have this kind of paranoia thing, and think that all of this is bad and it's all being done in some bad way to take something away from you. And I used to spend a lot of time listening to conspiracy theory stuff before I was into raw foods. So I've always been an alternative thinker, looking for alternative ideas for quite a long time, and looked at, used to watch lots of interviews. When I first went on YouTube years and years ago, the first things that I really watched, a lot of the stuff that I used to watch was conspiracy theory stuff. There was a few different channels that aren't really going right now. But there was people that would interview different, basically, conspiracy theory people. I don't know what else to put it. But people that claiming they used to work for the government, they worked at secret levels, they worked at the really secret levels. Those guys weren't quite at the secret levels. I was at the real top levels. And I was born for this. I was bred genetically to be taken into these special programs to do special things. And I can't quite go into the details of what that is. But and all this stuff, right? And every week it's the same. It's a different guy saying the same thing. And saying that he worked at the high levels behind the scenes. They were recruited into this thing. Whatever, like, and I would watch these, loved it. absolutely loved it, but never quite fully believed it. Like, never really 100% bought into it. Loved listening to it. But I was always like, is there any proof? Like, is he, like, where's the proof? I love the story of it. I love, I remember the first time I used to read spiritual type books as well. And the guy would, you'd it would be like, yeah, our energy is connected to the universe and it expands out and does this and it does that. And I would be reading it like, where's the evidence? Where's he? I was quite cynical. Later on, I got really into that stuff for a while, and really liked this kind of just the story of it. Enjoy the story of it, and like to believe maybe some of that's true. I don't know. Just can't find any evidence for it. So it's just personal experience. There's yeah. So I loved watching that stuff. Hours. Like 3 hour interviews. This is way before there was a lot of podcasts and stuff around. Now there's loads of podcasts, people doing hours interviews. These were 3 and 4 hour interviews. And I was going home at night and watching these, spending my entire evening watching these things. Eventually, I'm like, this is a weird use of my time. And if I don't see it, if I don't see the things happening, how can I trust any of these guys? Who are they even? But I love the stories. A while later, I got really interested in learning about marketing. I started the Fruit Festival and didn't know anything about putting on an event or a festival or anything. And was trying to figure out, it wasn't going well in the first year. I was trying to figure out how to do things better, and really it came down to getting more people signed up, and I was like trying to figure this out. And the weird thing was, my first thought was, well, if I just had enough money, I could pay for the festival to happen, and then I wouldn't need to worry about. And that was a weird thing. I didn't think if I could just sell enough tickets. That's not what I thought, weirdly. But I was going down this road, and I was like looking for, okay, how do I make money? Was one of the first questions, because I never really asked that in my life. And so I was watching these, once again, things that I really like to listen to. I was looking at like the law of attraction stuff, which I'd seen before, and I've seen that stuff for years, and I like it. I've used, I take some of it, but I was watching those guys, and loved listening to their stuff. Right, love listening to it. I was listening, and I'm listening to all these magical things you can do, and I'm thinking, yeah, great, do these magical things. I'm trying to do some of these magical things, and nothing's happening, right? Firstly, because things don't happen that fast for a start, but um, but then I came across this video, and I felt really sleazy watching all this stuff. Like, there was one called Wealth Attraction. I felt really, I don't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't want to buy a book that said how to make money, how to get rich, how to get wealthy. I felt not, my whole psychology towards that was not positive. I didn't feel good about doing that. Books about success. What was that? The famous books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, or Think and Grow Rich. Like, I didn't know. I'd stay away from that. It's like, it's not the way I wanted to look at things. But there was this, it was, but I became desperate, and I was like, okay, I kind of have to. I kind of need to put my ego aside and sort of look into this. So I came across this thing, Wealth Attraction for entrepreneurs. You can still find the videos online, and it's a guy called Dan Kennedy, and he talked about how people believe in this law of attraction stuff, and the delusion and the kind of mistakes they're making, and um and he was talking about all that. He talked about a lot of stuff. It's a very confrontational video. It's maybe 6 hours long because there's a lot of pieces to it. It's a seminar, and it's pirated, and someone's put it up online. So I watched basically this whole thing. Was very resistant to it at first, but there was a lot of truths in what he was saying, and I got more intrigued and started to go down this road and became very fascinated by him and read some of his books and started to put in place some of the ideas. It was kind of a bit too late for the first festival, but the second festival I started to put some of the simple ideas into place. And it was really simple. It's basically called having a two-step system for marketing, or more than one step, really, which is you collect people's, which is basically the basic thing everyone does. But I didn't know anything about this stuff. You collect people's contact details, and then you follow up with them with information about about your offer. And there's more to it than that, but it's basically, and people don't do that. This is the thing. People don't do two steps. They often just try and do one step. Come to this thing. Here's the website. Um, and they don't do even that very well in the information. So anyway, I got down. He's an educator, so I was trying to find stuff about him and read his stuff and got into his stuff, and a bunch of other guys, similar guys, and it changed the way I looked about a lot of things. It changed the way I viewed the world completely in many ways, because I started to realize that he, as a marketer, as a copywriter, as someone that put out messages and wrote this stuff for companies and did campaigns professionally for companies, that so much of it is smoke and mirrors, and so much of it is, maybe not a lie, but maybe just a bending of the truth or whatever. And sometimes they just make up stories to sell things. They just make up stories that appeal to people. They make up people, like the people aren't even real. I couldn't believe this, to be honest. I'm quite a naive person. And one of the things that he would do, and he's got a seminar about this, about copywriting, one of the things was conspiracy theory style messaging. This is something that this is one of the tactics they would use. And they didn't have any morality about this or any feeling of like this is a bad thing to manipulate people. That's just what they did to sell products. That's just what it was. So they would create conspiracy theory style stuff because it connected with certain audiences of people and made people buy stuff. Now, you can see this in almost every industry in some way. And you see this in the messaging of almost everything in some way or from some person. In politics, there's plenty of conspiracy theory stuff in politics. And even in the major parties. If you get into investments and financial stuff, people get into that. And there's a lot of companies that sell, for example, certain investment products, but they'll sell, for example, precious metals, silver, gold. Well, how do you sell silver and gold? Do you say to people, hey, we've got some silver and gold for sale. Come and buy some. No, that's not how you sell silver and gold. You sell silver and gold because who wants to buy silver and gold? You sell silver and gold by saying the government's going to collapse, the currency is going to collapse. There's a plan to collapse the currency, and you might just be able to save yourself by getting some silver, because the currency is going to collapse, but silver will maintain its price. And if you have to, when the borders collapse and the countries collapse, you'll have all this gold and silver, and you can go to another country, and at least you'll have this gold and silver. like any of that's going to happen. Like, you're just going to wander about with gold, and the bandits are going to be like not taking it off you. And so when you even think about these conspiracy theory ideas, it's ridiculous, because like if the currency collapses, You're not going to be worried about having silver and gold or whatever. Like it's going to be chaos, mayhem if the currency collapses, the whole country collapses. It's just going to be, it's chaos. And the last thing you'll be worried about is silver and gold and all that stuff. Really, you'll be trying to get food. That's what you'll be trying to get, and to make sure you can eat. But people buy into it, and people buy gold and silver as a result of that, and all sorts of things. And constantly in the world of the stock market and investments and companies, people will go on television and say, this is going to collapse, that's going to collapse, the economy's coming to an end. Like constantly, constantly, people will be saying that. They'll say it for 10 years, and then one day they'll be right because of the recession. I see, I told you. They've been saying it forever. Bitcoin is based on all conspiracy. Bitcoin is pretty much based on financial conspiracy stuff. The you can't trust the system. You've got to have something outside the system. Something you've got to have something like that. And a lot of people, Bitcoin people, get into this. There's a lot of people who are like raw vegans into Bitcoin and vegans, raw vegans and vegans into Bitcoin. Now you might say it's a good financial choice or whatever, maybe it is. But I'm thinking you're spending all this time on Bitcoin. There's millions of people out there that you've got the answer to their major health problems. And you're instead trying to like save the world with Bitcoin. I think it's bizarre, quite frankly. I think it's a bad, but people want to do different things. In the world of diet and health, there's conspiracy. So the whole carnivore diet and the keto diet and all that stuff is based on the messaging of you've been lied to. You were told that a low fat diet was good for you, and yet we've had a low fat diet for 80 years and people just keep getting less healthy. And actually, the truth is the opposite. You have to have a carnivore diet, right? Conspiracy thinking, and people buy into that. A lot of the health world has conspiracy thinking in it. And that's why I talk so much about organic conspiracy theory, total conspiracy theory stuff. The depletion of minerals in the soil, conspiracy theory. Deficiency in general, most of that's conspiracy theory stuff. It was all written by marketers. It's not scientific. It doesn't come from a scientific background. It was written by marketers who got in a room and said, how do we sell this? That's what it is. And as soon as you understand this and you see the pattern of it and you understand what's going on and you research it a little bit and you get to know this whole world, you see it over and over and over. And you can identify it pretty quick. So when someone goes, you've got to supplement because the soil has been depleted, because the farmers are doing something bad, and there's all this bad stuff happening, and there's evil people that control everything, and the evil farmers, and they're just all for profit and money, and they don't care about people's health, and neither does the corporations, and neither does the government, and no one's checking anything, and it's all falling apart. The food's worse than ever, and obviously it's worse than ever, and that's why you're not healthy, because and that's the thing about conspiracy. It always takes responsibility away from the individual. It's always like, and the reason you're not healthy is these farmers are doing a bad job. Now, you've never had a vegetable in your life, but it's the farmer's fault because the vegetable should taste like chocolate, but they just don't because they're doing a bad job. It's all this kind of stuff. And so that's it's the way that you sell it. It's the way that you sell supplements, because if you just had supplements without these stories around it, then it's just like, well, why do I need that? I don't need that. But if you get told this story, well, we can't trust the government, we can't trust, the farmers, the food's depleted, the food's got less nutrients. That's the cause of all disease. And this is a really convenient thing for people to believe in. This is how every supplement has ever been sold. This is why I talk about this stuff. It's been invented to sell a product. Wise up. Like, and the product is not fruits and vegetables, which would be like, okay, if there was deficiencies, people should eat more fruits and vegetables. No. It's also how you get people to go to buy the product instead of eating fruits and vegetables. Because people go, well, surely I get my vitamins from fruits and vegetables. No, you can't. You can't trust it because you can't trust the farmers and the thing and the other thing. And all the people saying that, they don't even eat fruits and vegetables. They eat garbage, but they're telling everyone else that because they're just selling a product. And that's in natural health. And I used to go on conspiracy theory stuff and websites and things, and I'd be reading something and going, wow, it's an interesting story, interesting story, interesting story, interesting story, second page, third page, fifth page. That was a really long story, interesting story. And then it would kind of turn into and this magical thing, and you're like, wow, magical thing. Wow, it gives you magical powers. Oh, wow, that's fantastic. What is this? Oh, it's Ormus Gold or something. And I look back and I realized, oh, that was just that was marketing, that was sales. I thought it was like I was reading a real story of like how this guy found this magical thing. Never bought any of that stuff. But if I was a buyer of things, if I was someone that liked to buy a lot of stuff, I probably would have. Um, but But that's the thing. Organic is very much the same. Organic is an entire conspiracy theory idea. Um, about the farmers are bad and they put chemicals and all the chemicals are bad and it's all poisonous and that's the reason you're unhealthy is because of all the poisonous food. And it's there's a level of truth to it. It is poisonous, some of these things, but there's very small, tiny amounts that are left over in the food, and these things get checked and all that. But there's a whole conspiracy publication and group that puts all that information out. I've written about these things in Raw Vegan Myths books, which I should try and get out there a bit more. Um, but yeah, so when someone comes to me and goes, there's food shortages, what are you going to do about it? And almost every day during the pandemic, people were sharing stuff with me about the secret leaders of the world are going to do this and that. And guess what? None of it happened. Not any of it happened. None of this stuff ever happens. Oh, it's just about to change. There's just this, there's things about to happen. And in the spiritual community, the energy is just about to change. We're going to go into a new dimension and there's a new thing. Like, people are constantly believing this stuff. It's been created to manipulate you into putting your attention towards these people so that they can probably sell you something. And even if that's just a book and a course and a coaching program and something else, even if it's just that, that's enough. That's enough for them, and and maybe they believe in the things they're saying. I'm not saying they're all like entirely nasty, but they're doing it there's a reason and a method behind that. So people need to be a little bit more careful about where the information's coming from. Now, you could say the raw food world is a conspiracy. I mean, my dad would certainly see it as a bit of a conspiracy. Like, oh, you think that you're right and all these doctors are right, not are wrong, but the truth is the doctors aren't really saying they're not. Doctors aren't really giving anyone an idea of what a healthy diet is. Neither are nutritionists really that that much. They don't really have a good idea. What we do know, plant-based diet is basically the healthiest diet that we've got, at least, and fruits and vegetables are the healthiest foods. So I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. It seems like it's pretty good evidence behind it. But maybe we should use more of a conspiracy theory style message to get it out there. I don't know. One of my friends who's really into conspiracy theories, it's so tiring to listen to him talk about conspiracy theory stuff, and he'll be like, what's that you're eating? What's on that salad? I'm like, oh, there's corn, and there's tomatoes, onions, and whatever. He's like, don't you know that corn is GMO? And this is a guy that's like legitimately drinking bottles of vodka and stuff like that. And he's like going, that corn's got GMO probably. It's probably not GMO. And I don't even care if it's GMO. Another thing that people are worried about. And there is bad things that happen. There are conspiracies. There are people that are conspiring to do things. But the nature of the world is in the way I look at it, is not one of a bunch of people controlling everything. People can't accept, firstly, their own bad decisions, their own responsibility for their life, and they're looking for someone else to blame, and that's the leaders of the world. And they can't be grateful for the fact that the people that do lead the world, if there are people that lead the world, look out the window and where I live, there's very little litter or rubbish in the ground. The grass is being cut. The buildings there the roofs are all intact. The windows are all intact. People have got heating, electricity. So the leaders of the world are so evil and nasty, and they're producing all these resources for people. And the roads are flowing. The shops are open. What's this evil, nasty, terrible world that people talk about? So, food shortages. I don't even give any of that stuff, because what are you going to do? This is the thing. Like, let's say the system collapses, the world collapses. Let's say there is poison in all the food. What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that? And this is the reason some people have literally pulled up their life and escaped away in this movement, in this community. Instead of embracing the world and sitting here and going, right, I've got great information now. I'm going to take this out to my community and help people. Instead of saying that, they're like, I'm going to F off. I don't know if it's the right way to put it. I'm going to bunk off, go to find some third world country with the cheapest land available, and try and grow fruit and try and find some kind of happiness out there. Escaping away, eating my own stuff. Then I know what's in it. You probably have to use pesticides anyway for a lot of the time to make these things work. Mistake. I believe it's a mistake. I think it's a big mistake. That fantasy, that utopia thing. I think utopia, it should be every second where you are. Look at the world around you. Open your eyes. The opportunity for you to live an almost infinite amount of lives, types of things you can do, people you can meet, what you can do. Today, I woke up, I went to play tennis. There's a tennis thing open to anyone to go to. I happen to have a free day, a free morning. Okay, great, I'll go along and play tennis. I go along and play tennis. Then there's a table tennis club that I go to. It's available to anyone who's a member of the council gym. I go along in there, I got some coaching on table tennis, played a little bit of table tennis, had good fun. Afterwards I went to the climbing centre. I don't usually have as active a day as this, but I'm just talking about today. I got to play tennis with a nice group of people. Went to play table tennis with some good people. I went to the climbing centre. I'm just trying to learn how to do the climbing, and had a really nice time there. Really enjoy that experience. Had a good conversation with a few people, and I can go to the library and sit and look at endless books and get some work done. And I can, obviously there's all these shops. I went in and got food that I didn't grow, that I didn't have to sweat in the fields to get, and I have the opportunity then to come on a phone and film this and put it out to the world, but put it out to at least a few people and share an idea with people. And I can, if I like, choose to put on a fruit festival, which I did do, which I do, but I'll do that. My choice. No one's stopping me. No one's forcing me to do it. It's my choice. I can put it out there. I can give it a try. See if people like it. We'll probably have a great time. I can then put on another retreat if I want. I can write a book. I can write a song. I can go and get lessons for endless things, and people are caught in conspiracy because they can't get going with their life. They can't just see the endless opportunity around them and get into a space of like the gratitude of what's all around them. So they caught up in these nets with these conspiracy theory people, bring them all together, and they keep on ramping their emotions up. Oh, you know what they're going to do next. My secret sources are telling me, and yet I feel like maybe I should start being that guy. Maybe that's the way that I could get this message out to more people. Is if I come on and say, guys, I've been listening to the secret. I've got the real information, the behind the scenes information. Because I run a fruit festival, I had CIA agents come and they want to shut it down. Do you know that if I did start doing stuff like that, that would go viral. People would be like talking about it. Oh my God, UK Fruit Fest, they're trying to shut it down because it's having an energetic impact on the energy systems of the world, and the dark forces are trying to get it. You know, it's a great story. It's a fantastic story. Maybe there'll be some truth in that someday, but not not literally. That's not happening. No one's trying to stop the fruit festival from happening. It's not that it's not having that much of an impact, but um, you know, it's we're doing our thing. So I just think that, and when it comes to health, you've got unlimited options to exercise. Even if you can't get equipment or go to a place, you can exercise. You can. There's, I live in a place you can go to endless beautiful places of nature. There's loads of different churches. There's mosques, synagogues. You could go and visit if you're looking to learn about that stuff, and just to sit in these beautiful places. There's obviously educational places. I'm just saying this. I've said this already, but there's such a world of experience out there to dive into and to contribute to and to be part of. And that's my message of the day. So I don't know what I'm going to do if there's a food shortage. I'm certainly not going to worry about sticking to 100% raw diet, or I'm going to try and survive. Like any situation, I'm just going to try and survive. But right now, I don't have any excuse not to do the best because I have it available to me. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and share this video, and join us for Fruity Fridays some night. Go to fruitfest.co.uk for information about the Fruit Festival. And thank you very much.